It happens.
Okay.
So I guess I'll start with as far
Like,
as
no, who are you and what's your
good call.
what's
Who are
your
you?
job
What do you do?
with the intramural sports?
My name is Sydney Fuller. I am the Intramural Graduate Assistant. I am basically in charge of intramurals underneath April Flint, our director, and then we have all of our student employees underneath me.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Who came up with the idea of the phases and the sports and that people were gonna be competing in and like the time frame and all that kind of stuff?
Phases are put in so that we can offer a more wide variety of sports. We could host, we could do flag football all semester, do basketball all semester, and softball all semester, but we split it up into phases and that we can offer stuff like sand volleyball, ultimate frisbee, like less known sports like 4v4 football that we just started. We do phases so that we can split up, especially with officials, new officials coming in, just more time to fit more stuff in.
Okay. And that'll lead nicely into the next question. As far as the referees, I guess first of all, what kind of people do you take on as referees? Do you just anyone that wants to fill out an application? Yeah.
Anybody that's interested.
Okay. And then what kind of qualifications do they have to have?
Basically, they just have to be a student. They come to us with interest. We put them through either a one-day training program or up to 3 days, depending on the level of the sport.
Okay.
Our program runs on students, so that's our biggest emphasis is student development. Make sure these guys are trained well, to make sure they can handle what's thrown at them on a nightly basis.
Okay, I know there's a sports officiating like leisure skill class.
Right.
Do y'all require them to take that class, or is it recommended?
No, the leisure skill, actually we got it. It was canceled this past semester because of budget type stuff with the university. We are, I think, bringing it back in the fall. Those students are required to do a couple of hours each week, but they are not our main officials. They have the option of staying on and working more with us. We love the officiating class. It's a good thing because you can learn a lot more about officiating than just sport rules.
Okay. As far as the staff, do you guys normally have a decent sized staff, or are you usually understaffed as far as how many officials you have? Or
We have enough out there. Most sports can be either like 1 or 2 officials on a game, or even up to 3. We have the minimum every night. There's maybe a couple instances where we're stretching. Some of our supervisors might have to step in and officiate, but they're all capable of doing so. So we are very well staffed.
Okay, and then as far as the supervisors go, how many supervisors do you have out on the fields or courts or wherever?
We have 20 total supervisors that are in our staff. On a nightly basis, we could have up to 6 working. Normally 1 for 2 fields or 2 courts, so they can monitor both.
Okay.
If we have the availability, we'll put 1 per field, 1 per court.
Okay. And then I guess lastly, as far as the officiating goes, how do the reviews go as far as if a team's got a problem with the officials or with some calls that are being made? What can they do about that?
We have a protest policy. If a participant has a complaint about how a call was made, if it's not judgment, because in officiating judgment is the biggest part, in or out, that's not something where they can review, but the protest policy we have, they can come to the supervisors, we can stop the game, look at the rules, see if it was enforced correctly. If they have a complaint about an actual official, if they're biased, one-sided, they talk to the supervisors, or they come to talk to us, and we handle that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, and then if, let's say you've got an official that's getting complained about every single game, what do you do about that?
We talk to them, try to figure out if it's us, if it's something we're doing, if it's teams, if it's a personal problem. There's a wide array of things that could be going wrong. Maybe their rules knowledge isn't good enough. We'd sit them down and talk to them about that.
Okay, so if somebody comes to a supervisor to complain, is that during the game? They'll stop the game to go, I guess, protest the call?
Well, if it's if it's a way a rule is enforced, they can stop the game and change it, but it's got to be, we have different guidelines set up, like it has to be before the next snap or on an individual sport basis. But if it's something personal, like if they think they're being biased, we don't stop the game for that.
Yeah.
Just because we're trying to protect our officials and we're not trying to discredit them at all. We can talk about that after the game. They can talk to supervisors, they'll tell us.
All right. Kind of the next topic, as far as scheduling, how do you guys determine the schedules for everything?
For sports?
For the intramural sports.
We look at what times we have available. Obviously, if it's going to be a night sport, gyms, upper fields, what sports are going on. We have to look at holidays. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have to take into account. Like in the fall, we can't do obvious can't do a lot of stuff on game days. Basketball season, we canceled some of the big games. We just have to look at when our students can be out there, because we don't want to schedule games when no one's going to be out there. If we can't start too early because of classes, we don't want to run too late. It's just whatever we can fit the max amount of games in at any given time.
All right. And then do you guys look into like departmental wide exams that could affect a wide variety of students? Like, for instance, I know that a lot of times on Wednesdays they'll have math exams that may cover
departmental tests,
like 1,000 or so students, and I mean our teams personally have been shorted people because of that. Do you guys look into that when the scheduling's?
We do everything we can to reschedule games. We have, I think it's 48 hours right now to let us know. So stuff like that where you guys know in advance of when your test is going to be.
So you can kind of, I guess, ask for a reschedule.
Yes, if we have the availability to.
Okay.
But the biggest problems we run into are we schedule out a week every season of reschedules, extra week for playoffs, rain-out dates, and obviously this semester we've been using a lot of rain-out dates because of the weather. So that has been completely full. I mean, we do it as much as possible. For playoffs, it's going to be more difficult, obviously, because we have games back-to-back and teams playing every night.
And as far as like rescheduling the game for like rain-out, you try to fit it in if you can, and then if there's no time, just kind of tough luck.
Yeah, I mean, basically it's rough that way, but we have to contact both teams, obviously. If one team has the conflict, we have to make sure the other team is available at the other time the teams are available. Most of the times we get them worked out where we can fit a game in before or after another game. But, you know, teams for bigger sports where they're playing 10 or 11 people, it's hard to get everybody there on any given night, especially for a reschedule.
Yeah. All right. As far as the rules go, who makes the rules for each game or each sport that's being played? That'll be the first part of that question.
For like the actual game rules?
Yeah.
For our major sports, we go by NERSA, the National Intramural Recreational Sports Association, has basically a rule book. They have committees that go through each individual. It's more for the high school, college, and intramural level. We go by those rule books. For the obscure sports that, you know, like our dodgeball type things, it's basically, we compile stuff that other universities have done. We've looked at, I mean, different, like the common rules for each sport that we go by. But for the major sports, we have a standard that most college universities go by.
Okay.
So you do look at like other universities when y'all are trying to, you know, make yours better.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of rules for each sport that are like a different university might take on a different aspect of it, that we may do something different, but the majority of the stuff is pretty standard across campuses because of NERSA, because of rule books, because of the standardization that we're trying to get with everybody.
Do you look at other schools for other ideas of how to do things differently, or different sports to come in, or like?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. This semester we started 4-on-4 football that we've heard has had a lot of success on other campuses. A lot of individual type sports, like we're going to try to implement like ping pong tournaments, card games, stuff like that, where we can reach a new crowd that's not necessarily our athletes, but other students that aren't interested in playing basketball or playing football. They want to sit down and play chess, checkers, that type of thing. That type of stuff we get from other schools, stuff I've learned from my undergrad, that we did. It's just intramurals is a big conglomerate networking atmosphere where we can learn from each other.
Right. I think that's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
That's all you got?
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.